If we don't have any questions at all, we will move on to Arindam's presentation. Going once, going twice. Already. Okay, Arindam, I think you're up. What is your presentation going to be on? Because nobody has told me ahead of time. So let's be ad hoc with this and find out what it's about.
Okay. Is my voice audible, Henry?
Yes, you are all good to go from my end. I think Dan thinks you're good to go as well. So the stage is yours. Go ahead.
Okay. So my topic today, Henry, is again, I speak on DevOps. So I continue speaking DevOps, but this is an interesting topic because I actually coined this, how would I say, a terminology. So my topic is Ops and DevOps. So what does it mean? It means that, when it comes to DevOps, we always think of build and run. It means that a project comes, you automate by infrastructure as code, you deploy some services, and you hand over to the application team. They do their part, and you make the project live. Short and sweet. But what about the ops part, like the day-to-day business? So today, what I'm going to present, I'm going to share my screen now. Yeah. Okay. So this is my contribution page. And before I start, as I always do, so this is my GitHub profile. My name is Arindam Mitra, and I am an Azure Cloud Solutions and DevOps architect. And I'm also a technical blogger, speaker, focused mostly on cloud adoption, architecture, automation, build and run, as you see in my GitHub profile. I am available in blogs, and like I blog in dev.to. I'll show you shortly. I'm available in LinkedIn, Twitter, Sessionize, GitHub, and Facebook. You can get in touch with my Yahoo and Gmail. And overall, this is my stats. I have like 20 blogs purely in DevOps. I have 12 speaker sessions, and I have overall served 7 communities, including Journey to the Cloud. Journey to the Cloud has always been very, very special because I started my speaker sessions when I was looking desperately. This is what I always tell. And I don't forget that, though I get now a lot of speaker sessions, but this has always been a special platform. Matthew and Dan has always been kind enough to invite me. And that is why I'm always here. I try my best to be as much as possible. And this is very lucky that this is my 4th time I'm speaking on Journey to the Cloud, and I'm happy to continue the same streak. So you can see that I have already spoken to Journey to the Cloud, Welsh, and then Azure Zurich group. I've always spoken to this Pakistan group. There's Burn, Azure Back to School, Cloud Lunch and Learn. So this is like 7 communities at the moment which I'm helping, and they are very, very kind enough to invite me and present my work. This is slightly my contribution page, which I normally keep myself updated. So you see that my upcoming is today, Ops and DevOps in Cloud. Like Journey to the Cloud 9.0. And then I have on 28th, I have another session with Cloud Lunch and Learn. If I move here, so the topic which I'm going to present is, let me go to the dashboard. So you see that I have like a series which is going on, which is called Ops and DevOps. So this is a series I'm going to talk. And if I click on the first topic, you see that this is a 4-part series, and I intend to go up to 20 or 25 articles because I have things planned out. And as I said, that in Ops and DevOps is something like, the day-to-day activities, which we tend to do over Azure Portal, or maybe we don't think in that way that, okay, this can also be a part of DevOps. So I have published 4 articles at the moment, and there are lots to come. Please watch out for this series. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 4 demos, as you see. So first is like, we create a service principal, and then we generate a secret, and then we store it in the key vault. That is the first demo. The second demo is like the service principal which I created. I again try to create the same service principal, and you will see that my pipeline is failing because it is validating whether the service principal is available or not. If it is available, it will not create again. Then I move to the next part, which is like resetting the service principal secret. And you will see that, what is the problem with this, and this is a bug in Microsoft. I'll show you live. Then there is an Azure Active Directory creation, the group creation, again, using DevOps. And then finally, I conclude my demo with the Azure storage account. In the storage account, we have a primary key and a secondary key. And according to the security officer or security team, we should rotate those keys. And those keys should be like available in keyboard so that if any application wants to avail those keys of the storage account, instead of fetching it directly over portal, they should actually fetch it from keyboard. And that is that is the fourth demo which I'm going to produce. So feel free to browse my blog as I always do. I document every step. I already presented this in one of the user group, which is Azure Burn user group. I did this demo with them, and you can find everything out here. So this is something, and then you can from here go to my second blog, similarly my third blog, and you land up into my fourth blog. Here you have, like, if you scroll down in my GitHub repo, here you can go to the individual repos. I mean, like, you need to a little bit find, for example, like rotating the storage account key. If you go here, you can find the pipeline, the code, which is here. And the entire code is out here. You can clone it, fork it, feel free to use it. And in case if you want to read the blog, you can also read from my GitHub because it's exactly the same copy as I write in dev.to, which means that my blog is also version controlled. Now, in case if you don't want to browse in individual repos of individual topic, what I have done is for the ease of all my people who wants to follow my GitHub, I have created one ops and DevOps GitHub repo. And here in each of the folders, you will have everything. So I have put my date, what is the topic all about, and then the blog link out here. And if you go into each of the folders out here, for example, like validate and create SPI. So you see, you have the code out here. So this, I mean, like, you can follow this particular repo, and then you will see that I keep on appending it. Okay. So without losing much time, because I have 4 demos to show, and of course, there will be other speakers as well who would like to speak. So I will quickly jump into my first demo. Okay. So what I'll do is, I go to my pipeline, and you can see that, I have like the first demo here, so which is validate and create SPI. So before I run this, just remember that it will create a service principal in Azure Active Directory, and it will generate a secret. And once the secret is generated, it will store it in Key Vault. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the pipeline first, and then I will just be very, very quick in explaining the code so that it is easy for everybody. And then you can use my code, and then you can try it out. And after that, if you feel that some enhancement is required, feel free to do it. Okay, so what I'll do is I will just run the pipeline. But what I will do is I'll just go into it so that I don't have to enter the values. Now you see that the values are pre-populated. So I have taken my demo resource group as demo blog RG. I have taken my keyword name as AMPOCKV, and I'm creating this SPI name called test SPI 100. Now what I will do is I will run this. Okay, so now as soon as I run, it will take a little bit of time because as I say that it is running on Windows latest, which means that my build agent which I'm using, this is of Microsoft. This is not my build agent, like my self-hosted build agent, but it is more like I'm using Microsoft build agent, and it takes a little bit of time to warm up and then run my code. So just take a pause. But as it is running, I can utilize this time in explaining this code a little bit so that you get a context. So what I'm doing out here, so this is my pipeline. So I have some runtime variables. So these runtime variables are that whenever you're running the pipeline, it will ask for user input values. So it will ask the user for subscription. It will ask for the resource group name. It will ask for the keyword name. It will ask for a service principal. And then I have some variables. So it needs, of course, it needs a service connection. This service connection is basically the entity which is integrating the Azure and the DevOps world, because these are 2 different entities, and this principle is actually integrating both the entities so that when I'm running the pipeline, It is executing the code in the build agent, and then it is deploying it in the Azure portal. And this is my build agent. This is the Microsoft build agent, which is Windows latest. Okay. So this I'm using as variable, and these are runtime variables. Okay, now I move that I have a single stage pipeline. You see that I only have one stage, which is the create service principal. And once I have it, then what I'm doing is I'm actually running this command so that I land into the right subscription. It may happen that you have 10 subscription. So that is why you need to pass the current subscription ID so that you are deploying the resource in the right resource group, which is in the right subscription. That is what I'm trying to log into the right subscription using the AZ commands. And then I have the nested if-else block, which does that. It is first checking if the provided resource group name exists or not. If it does not exist, pipeline will fail. It will just exit. It will do nothing. After it checks for resource groups, say suppose the provided resource group name I've provided, it is correct. So it will move to the next one, which is it will validate whether the key vault is correct or not. So if the correct key vault name is not provided, it will again fail. It will not do anything. So if it passes, then it moves to the next step, which is like it will start creating the service principal. Once it starts creating the service principal, it will generate the secret, and that secret will then be stored into the key vault. This is the reason that we are validating the resource group in Key Vault first before we are deploying the service principal, creating the secret, and storing it in Key Vault, because the Key Vault has to reside inside a resource group. That is why we are validating the resource group. And if the Key Vault is not present, then the secret generated by the service principal, we have no placeholder to store the secret. This is the reason that we are creating the resource group, and then we are creating the Key Vault, and then we are generating service principal, we are generating secret, and that secret goes stored in the key vault. This is what my pipeline is doing. Now I fall back to my pipeline. I hope it's successful, but I think it's still running for some reason. Apologies, but this is Microsoft Build Agent. I have nothing to do with this.
Live demos.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Yeah. So you see that the code has been checked out, and now it is validating, and then it will create. So it is now validation. The validation is in progress, whether it's checking the resource group name, it will then check the key vault, and after that, it will create the service principal, it will generate the secret, and then it will store it in the key vault.
So coding's not my thing, as probably many key people could probably tell. What is it actually doing at the moment? You said it was creating the key vault side of things for this. This is obviously where you store your Microsoft secrets and certificates and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
what is it they're actually validating at this point? Are they validating that what you're trying to store is in the correct format? Or
No, it's not validating the format, or it's not validating anything. It is actually validating whether the key vault is present or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So because inside the key vault you have secrets, and inside the secrets you are actually storing the key value pair. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're creating the service principal, so service principal is just like in data center world, it's just like service account. Okay. So every service account has it's just like an AD identity, on-premises Active Directory identity. Like, for example, you have an application running an on-premises data center, right? And you want to run that application as a Windows service. So what do? You don't run that service by your identity, but you create a service account, and that service account has a password. So it's just like a user account, but it's just a shared or a generic service account which you are using so that your application can run as a service in the data center world.
Okay.
Why we do it? Because you can leave the company tomorrow. So if you leave, your account will be locked or deleted. So if your account is related to that application will stop working. That is why we have service account. Now compare the service account to the Azure world. So service account is nothing but service principal in Azure. So this service principal we create because there are a lot of application, they use it into DevOps pipeline. We also use it in infrastructure as a code. So we create those service principal and then we generate that secret. So in order, when the secret is there, that secret is visible only one time. So if you refresh that page, the secret is gone and you can never see it again. This is how the service principal secret works. So that is why you cannot store it in a notepad. You cannot store it in your local machine because the others cannot view it. That is why we have to store it in Key Vault. So
right, that makes sense.
And that Key Vault is actually residing in a resource group. So first I'm checking that the user who is running the pipeline, did he provide the correct resource group? Did he provide the correct Key Vault name? Because when you are doing the automation, you have to think from all angles that, it might be that, user is making a goof up. He provided the correct resource group name, but, Key Vault name, he didn't provide the correct one, incorrect. I mean, and then he's trying to run it. And if I don't have the correct Key Vault name, the secrets will not get stored. So that's how I'm validating.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That answers your question? Okay, cool. So now what I do is now I go to the Azure Active Directory and I simply refresh this one. And you see that I already have this test SPI 100, which I created. I click on this. Then I go to certificates and secrets. And you see that I already have this password. So this password is no more visible. But you see that, they only give the first 3 characters N0B. So this can give you a little bit idea. Now I go to my subscription. This is my Visual Studio subscription. I go down here, scroll down, I go to my resource group. This is my demo blog RG. This is the resource group name I provided. This is the Key Vault name I provided. I go to the secrets. And you see that I have created a secret name called the same name as the SPI name, which means that whatever name you're providing during a runtime, the same secret name is getting created out here. Click on this. And you go to the current version. And if you scroll down a bit, we reduce the font a little bit. And now if you click on show secret, you see the first 3 value is N0B. It is exactly the one which we see here, N0B. So this is what you do. So in most of the organization, or maybe organizations, they do this task maybe manually, or they run these commands manually over Cloud Shell or maybe PowerShell, and they do it. But I prefer doing it over DevOps. So this is like one of the business as usual activity for any cloud engineers. So this is what I call an ops and DevOps. So this is my first demo. I will pause for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, because I have still 3 topics to show. But feel free to ask if you have any questions. Otherwise, I move to the next topic.
I'm keeping a good eye on both chats here. I'm not seeing any questions so far. And the question that I had before. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a question. So one of the validation, I think it was also validating the subscription, right?
So yes, let's go here in my pipeline, and if I click on run new, yes. So this is what I'm taking it as a runtime. Now I understand, Solomon, what question you want to ask, so I will directly jump into it. Now, since I have only one subscription, that is why I selected as a radio button. But if I have multiple subscription, I can easily change this radio button to a drop-down menu like this, where you can see, for example, like this one. So like this drop-down menu, I can always change from a radio button to a drop-down menu where you can see multiple subscriptions, and you can select any of the subscriptions. Since Solomon, you have to understand that I only have one subscription to test.
Yeah. So I want to add the second question. So the second question is, what if you run this script on this particular subscription and then in the future, you want to move it to another subscription. Can you
Right.
do that with?
Of course. So what you have to do is simple. You go here and either you see that my pipeline, but whenever I build a Solomon, what I do is I always put everything as a variables so that you don't have to ever touch this part of the logic, which is the actual logic of the pipeline. You don't have to touch anything here because my pipeline is completely runtime variables, which is this part. And these are the pipeline variables. So if you want to, depending upon your environment and how your environment is set up, you change the values out here, you change the values in here, and your pipeline is good to run. Now, answering your question,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
that's
environment,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
So you have to change.
from the variables here, I think that's like a very clear answer. So you just change the
Exactly.
subscription. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, thanks so much.
No worries, Solomon, no worries. Happy to answer.
Does anybody else have any questions for Arindam following his first of 4 demos there for us? I'm still keeping an eye on things, still keeping tabs, but not seeing anything so far. So if anybody on the panel has any questions, I'm going to give everybody the obligatory 5-second rule. I'm not hearing anything through just there. So I think, Arindam, you're good to do your next few demos for us.
Thank you so much, Henry. So this is the second part of the, the first demo. I will be very, very quick because now you already know that, here I already have this SPI. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the same pipeline again. I'm not going to change the name because I will show you that my validation is so I have created in a way that if somebody provides the same name, it will not create, but my pipeline will fail. So I will run it again, and it will take a couple of seconds to run again. And you will see that since I already have this test SPI 100 in my Azure AD tenant, this time my pipeline will not be successful, but it will fail. Pause a bit because it will take a little bit of time. Now, since this is running, I will then start explaining you, or maybe I can wait a little bit because it has already started. I thought it will take a little bit of time, but I think it will be very, very quick. So again, it's the same principle. It will again check the resource group, it again check the key vault, and this time it will again first validate whether the SPI is present or not. And since our SPI is present, it will complete it, but it will not create. It will show it in my terminal that the SPI already exists and no action has been taken. Cool. Now you see that it failed. And now let's look into it. You see exactly this line 89. The service principal as test SPI 100 exists and hence cannot proceed with the deployment. So this thing which I've mentioned out here, it is dynamic, which means that whatever name you're providing, it will exactly print the same name. Nothing is hard coded. Everything is parameterized so that it gives you the right message when it is failing. So this completes the first demo. Now let's move to my second demo, and Henry, just pause me if you see any questions coming up.
I'm keeping a good track on everything. You're good to go for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Henry. So now I move to the next part, which is rotating. This is now what happens is that I have the SPI ready out here. Now I have the secret. What happens that I want to reset the secret. Somehow I have not stored it. I don't have a track that what is a secret. Somehow I lost the secret. Maybe I thought that I have stored in key vault, but it didn't get stored. So then what? I need to reset this one. So this is my second demo, which is exactly in my, this is my second demo, reset service principal secret, and then again, store the new value in the Azure DevOps. Now, you see that in my key vault, you already have this and you have only one version. Once I reset, this will become obsolete and it will create a new version of my secret. Now let's run it. So what I will do is I will run this. Okay. So I'm running with the same name, test SPI 100. I'm not changing it because this is what it is existing. So I run this one. So again, the same principle. It will check the resource group. Again, it will check for the keyword. It will check whether or not the service principal is existing. If the service principal is existing, then and only then it will reset the secret. If the service principal is not existing, it will throw an error, which is the second part, which I will show you. Right now, I know that service principal exists, and that is what it is running. Now we see that if you scroll down in the logs, you will clearly show, it will clearly show that the reset of the service principal test SPI 100 secret was successful. The new secret has been stored in the keyword inside this. Now let's go to the keyword. So I will go here. So this is my test SPI 100. And then if I refresh it, you see, this was my first one, which becomes my older version, and this is my current version. So if I click on this one, you will clearly see this is the first one when we generated N0B, if you remember. So this was my old one. And now since I have reset the secret of the existing service principal, you see that this is my new secret. Now I told you that there is somehow a bug, or I have yet to determine because I have to raise a pull request to Microsoft, which is pending from my side, which I'll be doing in a couple of days. I'm still researching a little bit. But if you go here, now the secret has been the secret has been reset. I have the new secret. I can see it from the keyword. It is visible. But if I refresh this page again, you see, the new secret is not visible here. It is still displaying the old one. This is what I feel. I have a strong hunch that this is a bug in Microsoft, because this is something, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe there is some certain misunderstanding, but I need to recreate. I mean, like whenever I found such bug, I always open the pull request with Microsoft. I have already done twice. I can show you again, as the end of my demo. So this is not changing. So this is what I meant, that I feel that this is some kind of a bug, but I'm still researching, and when I find the answer, I will update in my blog, and I will also share the pull request which I raised with Microsoft. So this is my second, that's the first part of my second demo. Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, you said this is like a bug. So my question here is, previously when you were doing this, does it change at this particular point, or you just notice that it doesn't change? Were you having the resets change the value previously, or maybe you're just doing it for the first time and you notice it is not changing? Or do you have like a specific time you noticed it stopped changing?
No, from the day when I wrote this blog, I did this one. I have noticed from that day. But my hunch, Solomon, to be very honest, is that I feel that it has something to do with the expiry date. That may be that in the portal, because in the portal, whenever something is been visible, it is more visible because of the REST API. So if you're making any change in the portal, this portal change is basically happening over the REST API. And these takes certain time. So I waited for 1 day or waited for 2 days, refreshed the pages. I tried to look into it, but it was still not displaying. But my reset was happening, and it was successful, because if it is not successful, then I wouldn't have get this value. Since I'm getting the new value, I know that the reset is happening, because how I tested it, Solomon, was that I use both values as a part of my DevOps connection, and I tested the connection, and the connection is successful with both the values. So I know that both the values are active. I know that the reset is happening, but somehow it is not displaying over the portal.
I see. So have you checked any of the Microsoft community if maybe someone else is also experiencing this issue?
Yeah, I haven't done it, Solomon, because I lacked a little bit of time. I was like, after doing this, I was pretty much busy. But if you
Okay.
like, if you go here, I normally do this. If you scroll down in my GitHub, you see that I normally, if it is visible, I don't know, but let's see. You see that, I had already created 2 pull requests with Microsoft. One regarding there were wrong information provided in Microsoft documentation, which I asked them to correct. It was related to Microsoft analysis services. So there was a wrong thing and they corrected it. And then there was like I did Terraform state lease, like blog. And there I found a bug on with Azure CLI and I opened a GitHub pull request and both got accepted. And they said that
Nice.
yeah, this is right. So similar to this, Solomon, I'm also going to do it, but I still
Okay.
want to be, I just still want to be absolutely sure because this is Microsoft. I'm raising a pull request. I don't want to be like, fall flat on my face that, oh, what did I raise? So I'm just taking my time and doing my own research. And
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. Okay. Thanks so much.
no worries, Solomon. Okay. So this is my second demo, which I wanted you to show, and this is what I wanted you guys to explain. So Henry, if there's no questions, can I move to my third
You
demo?
are still all good to go, my friend. Keep going.
Okay, cool. Then the third one is like, we always talk about, Azure Active Directory group is required every time. You will get, as a cloud engineer, I can imagine that you can get thousands of requests, that I need 10 groups, I need 5 groups for this application, blah, blah things. In the production environment, how this is done, and if you remember correctly, long back when I did a demo on Azure Lighthouse and Journey to the Cloud 4.0, Solomon Jeremiah did a demo in privilege identity management. And he explained in that privilege identity management that how you will have those identity, how you will have those permissions to do the Azure tenant level access. So corresponding to that, why I said this, because it's very important that you collaborate with your community people, and Solomon did this, and that is why I wanted to highlight and wanted to give a big shout out. So in production environment, you will never have the access of this whole Azure tenant, the one which you see right now. So if you go to Azure Active Directory right here, you will never have a full access. All these options will be grayed out. And how a cloud administrator gives access to the cloud engineers is using privilege identity management, using access packages. So these are the two powerful features in Azure Active Directory. Now there is a groups administrator in privilege identity management. So you create a group and then you associate the privilege identity management role of a group administrator to that particular user directly, or you maybe assign it to a group and the members has to be a part of that group in order to be a group's administrator. What is the role of the group administrator? That you have to elevate yourself as a group administrator. Only then you can go to Azure Active Directory and then you can create a new group. Now, this is one way of doing it, and this is a very good way of doing it. I tried something different. What I did is very simple. I created a pipeline. Now, what I will do is I will just run a pipeline. I will give a name of the group, and it will create a group. That's all. There's nothing fancy, but what I wanted to show is, again, ops and DevOps, that it is always not necessary that we have to glued to one way of doing it, but there is thousands of different ways, where you can automate this BAU task, business as usual task, and you can use DevOps there as well. So if I go here, I will click on this one, I click on this, and then I just run the pipeline. And you see that it is asking me for a group name. Now it will validate a group name as well, but I will give that Arindam. 007. Okay. Now I will just try to create it. Cool. So now you see that goes and just that Azure AD group Arindam 007 created successfully. Now let's go here in the groups. I just refresh the whole page. And I don't even have to search it. You just in the panel, if you go for Arindam 007, yep, and you see Arindam 007 has been created. So this is again a very, very simple script. I mean, but it does my job. Again, if you go to Ops and DevOps, and you can see that it's just creating a group. And this is my code. So this is again, everything is parameterized, and it is using the parameter variables, it is using the pipeline variables, and this is a very simple logic which I've used out here. It is first validating again if the group exists or not. If it doesn't exist, it will just create a new one. This is again my third demo. Henry, I'm proceeding to my last demo, but you can pause me anytime.
I
So can
absolutely
I-
will do. Oh, no, go ahead, Solomon.
Okay. So sorry. So I don't know if I missed it, but when you're using this script to create this group, right? I saw single AD group, right?
Yes.
Is there a way you can actually create multiple groups? You just
Absolutely.
give them different names and then run the script. Then you have multiple groups created at the same time.
Yes. This is also going to come in my this series. That is why I wrote single AAD group, because there might be that use cases where you just need to create one group. There might be use cases you need to create multiple AAD groups. So the multiple AAD groups part is coming very soon. It's already, the automation is there. I still have to write it up.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries, Solomon.
Still sort of keeping an eye on things. I think you're good to go. Unless anybody on the panel has any questions or queries or anything for Arindam so far. Been a very in-depth tutorial. I've learned a lot about ops and DevOps and everything else. It's not my primary specialism, but it's good to get some experience with it, I suppose, and to see how it all kind of interconnects and works together. What I would say there, Arindam, I think you're good to go, my friend. Go for your final demo.
Yes, thank you so much, Henry. And this is the final demo for my 4-part series. So the final demo is again the storage account. So let's browse first. Let's look into. So I have a storage account like this one. Okay, and if you have a storage account, then if you go to the access keys, then you see that you have this whole access keys out here. So the first part is the key, and the second is connection string. So in this demo, we are not taking care of connection string. We are only taking the key. So the key one, in my example, is the primary key. The key 2 is the secondary key. Okay. According, I mean, like there are a lot of projects which I have worked. where they are using the storage account. And my security officer always tell me that, I have to rotate the storage account primary key and the secondary key, maybe ad hoc, or maybe I can schedule it. The purpose of my demo is that I have created an automation where it will rotate the key. Rotate the key means that it will change the key, and this value will then be stored in the key vault. Okay, now let's see how it happens. Before I move, let's look into the code again a little bit, and then we start the demo. Now, this is the code. What I'm doing is I'm giving the user the flexibility to choose during the pipeline run whether they want to rotate the primary key or they want to rotate the secondary key. Okay. Again, I have used a bunch of runtime variables. Runtime variables, again, I'm repeating myself. It's the user input variables. So the pipeline will ask you for some values. User has to input those values, and that is what I mean by runtime variables. Then I have a couple of pipeline variables, and together with this, I have created this automation. Now, this is again a single stage pipeline where I'm validating everything. First, I'm validating whether the resource group exists or not, because inside the resource group, my storage account will reside. Then I'm checking whether my storage account exists or not. If the validation of both is successful, then the third thing is I'm checking the key vault. So this pipeline will only execute or rotate the primary key and the secondary key of the storage account only if the resource group, storage account, and key vault are present. Otherwise, it will fail. So this is the validation I have done. And once it is done, then in the next stage, what it is doing that the first stage is validating everything. And if this whole stage is successful, then in the next stage, it is first checking whether my previous stage was successful. So this is a condition. So if my previous stage fails, this stage will be skipped because I have a condition out here, which is succeeded. So this stage will only execute if and only my first stage is successful. And the second is, this is one condition. And then the second condition is if I'm selecting primary, then only this stage will work. If I'm selecting the option secondary, my third stage will work. So this is very important to understand that this is how I made a split. And you have to understand that I'm using AND operator. I'm not using OR operator. The difference between, again, Boolean AND and Boolean OR is also always like AND means that all the conditions has to be fulfilled. OR means any one of the condition can be fulfilled. That is why I'm using logical AND. Once I do this, then depending upon the choice user makes, whether they want primary or whether they're secondary, it rotates the key and then stores it in the keyboard. This is the logic. So this is the logic for primary here, and then the secondary one is the below one. So feel free to use my code, fork it, clone it. Feel free to provide me feedback. And now what I will do is I simply move and showing you the demo. This is the one. So you see that I have to provide the correct resource group. I have to provide the correct storage account name. I have to provide the correct key vault name. And then you have an option between primary and secondary, whatever you want. So what I will do is I will select the very thing primary, and then in the next run, I will do the secondary. I run the code. Now we see that my first stage here is it is validating the resource group storage account. Now, after that, you see that it has two different values. One is primary key, and this is a storage secondary key. If the tooltip shows you the secondary, hopefully, yes, this is a secondary. Now, since I have selected primary, So what will happen after this validation of resource group storage account and key vault happens, and this stage is successful, it will execute this one, and this stage will automatically get skipped. We'll see it in a moment.
So while this is running, I wanted to ask another question. So is there a cool down time when you're running this script to rotate your key? So that means you can keep running it. That means after running it, you just run it again, no cool down time.
No, there's no downtime because when I'm putting this automation in place, the application owner who is consuming the storage account, they already know that they have to fetch the key of the primary key of the storage account from the key vault. And when you're fetching the key from the storage account, whatever value in the backend of the secret it is changing, the name of the secret is not changing. So the application are fetching the storage account key using the secret name. So behind the secret name, whether you're changing the value once or you're changing twice or thrice, nobody cares because you are changing, you are fetching the value by the name of the secret and not with the value.
Okay.
So you see that my validation is successful, and since I have created the primary, the secondary got skipped. Now if I click on this one, so this is my first stage which got completed, and this is my second stage running, and this is the thing which got skipped. And I will, Solomon, whatever I told you, I will again show you on the portal so that you have a end-to-end understanding. So now you see that my primary key got rotated. Now let's validate. Now what I will do is I will refresh the whole page. Okay, good. Now I will show it as this. Now just remember this, that it is starting with CXXY. Okay. Now I go to I will just go to my subscription. I will go to the key vault again. Okay. Now I go to my key vault. Now I go to my secrets. You see that I have created a new secret, which is the name of the storage account. And after that, I have just appended the name called hyphen primary. When I rotate the secondary, it will again create a new secret by the name of the storage account, and then it will add hyphen secondary. So Solomon, whenever an application guy is fetching the secret or fetching the key of the storage account, they will always use this name. So if you rotate also, this version will change. And this secret, when the application is fetching the key of the primary account, they will always use this name. And behind this name, if you are changing the storage account key 5 times, so 4 times it will show you as the older version, and 1 time it will show you here as the current version. And according to the key vault concept of Azure, if you are using the name of the secret, it will always take the current version. It will never take the older versions.
That's
okay,
nice.
so
That's nice.
yeah, so this is where now if I show the value, you see CXXY. It's exactly the same value which we saw here, which is this one. Okay, now let's finally, I'll take another 1 minute to do the next part, which is like, I do run this one. I do everything, but this time I check as secondary and I run it. So now my validation stage is complete, and you will now notice that if I go back here, last time it skipped the secondary, this time it skipped the primary, and my secondary is now going. Also, one thing, still the time it is running, if you select here, I try to make my output logs human readable so that everybody understand that what is running. You see that if the validation of resource group is passing, it is showing you resource group, whatever name you have provided exists. Storage account, whatever name you have provided exists. Keyword exists. So this gives you a brief understanding, even if you are new to DevOps and if you don't understand everything in the black and white blue screen, which can be a little bit overwhelming when you're starting your DevOps journey. If any DevOps engineer is putting like this, it's very easy for others to understand, and that is how I try to do it. This is now rotating my secondary second key, which we see in a couple of minutes.
That's really cool.
Thank you, Dan.
As moderator, I really wish I had some questions, but it all moves so very quickly that my lack of understanding where it comes to code in general, it just moves so quickly to try and actually work out what to ask. But it looks very interesting, I'm sure. It's one of those things where
I don't think I've ever logged into dev.azure.com.
So now I'll just finish by just validating the secondary key has been rotated successfully. And then, so I will open this one. Now let's remember MVQ plus. So this is my secondary key. Now we go here in the secrets. And now I've just refreshed this one. You see a secondary has been created. So for the ease of understanding, I'm always using the name of the storage account. And then I'm populating this, appending this hyphen secondary. If I click on this, then click on the current version, show secret value, MVQ plus. So this is how I do it, and this is all I wanted to present you guys. So follow my series, because this will be a big series. I have like lined up almost, I plan to have 20 or 25 articles out here, which is Ops and DevOps. I was very happy to see that there were a couple of other forums who have also started using the Ops and DevOps terminology. And I don't know, I mean, like, if they have seen it from everybody, but it gave me immense proud that, I came up with this concept, and I'm trying to build this something useful for everybody. So it is in there in GitHub. If you guys want, if you like my demo, just follow me, subscribe me. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask over LinkedIn, over email, and that's all I wanted to present. Back to you, Henry and Dan.
Well, thank you for that very in-depth presentation. I think I'll have to go back and watch that a few times to work out what the computer was doing at certain points in time. I obviously want to open up the panel and anybody else who's watching for any questions for Arindam. I can appreciate that was very in-depth. So if you have any questions about specific bits and pieces, I think Arindam would be able to break it down to the minutest point for you as well. I'll give sort of a minute or so for any questions. If any of the panel wants to ask any questions or has any thoughts, now's obviously the time to sort of raise them across. If we don't get any sort of response, then what we'll do is we'll move across to, I believe it'll be Russ's presentation next. Dan, you keep me right on that one.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And anybody in the panel, Solomon, do you have any more questions for Arindam at all?
I don't really have any question, but he did a great job, and I think I'll be living in your GitHub for the next few days to get some of those code, because I actually work with PowerShell and Python script, but I think I will be living right on your GitHub profile for some days. So nice one. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Solomon. It means a lot. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think if nobody else has any sort of questions, what I will do, Arindam, thank you very much for the presentation. I will move this across to Russ, I believe. Russ,